Business
that in
studies
school.
is
Yes.
not entrepreneurship.
Yes.
It's about business, a
yes.
company. And it tells you how a CEO
What
needs
is
to
the
be.
what is a sole proprietor?
And that's it. But it doesn't go into actual entrepreneurship. It doesn't give them any immersive experience of what actually running a business should be like. You learn about what the rules are of running business in the country, but you never get to do entrepreneurship. And so people come out of metric with business studies and they think, oh, I can actually go into business. When you start your own business, it's like everything gets scrapped because you don't start a business with a system that has a CEO and marketing manager and this and this and that. You are you.
It's you.
And you are everything.
Mr. T, I call him. And he calls me
Miss K.
Miss K.
Yes.
And very weird because I'll tell you why I was so drawn to you. I'm very, very young. And you are very, very old.
Whoa!
Look, we don't even the hairs. I'm just saying that from the hairs. Trust me. Nothing else.
I get it. I get it.
But I think what drew me to you from the first engagement that I had with you was you didn't see age in me and how you engaged and responded to me, which is something that's very difficult in spaces that I get into. Because the first thing that people would always say is, how are you still young, Mos? And I think then what comes after that is then how they treat me in those rooms. They then always make me feel like I'm young.
Yeah.
And I've always had to overdo and overcompensate to show them that. So where does that kind of maturity, I don't know if I should call it that maturity, he obviously is mature, but where does that maturity come from? Why are other people not like that?
I don't know. I guess for me, it's never about anybody's age. And that's not the first thing that comes to mind. I engage with people. I meet them wherever they are. I take it that I meet somebody for the first time. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they come from. I don't know their story. So I make no assumptions. I don't put any judgment. I don't already presuppose that X should be Y and therefore this is what she should be like or he should be like. I basically take a person on what they present and I go with it. So it's never been about age or gender or anything of that sort. For me, it's always about the other person is in their space, and I respect whoever is in whatever space they're in. And I guess I'm more curious about who people are and what drives them more than almost trying to make up my mind about them before I've even met them, which I think is a bad thing. I know English has that nice saying, don't judge a book by its cover. But I think most times people do.
People do that.
And I think it's something we have to unlearn.
I think it's a powerful thing because people would always be judged based on you are young, you're a woman, you are black, and then people then determine how they're going to treat you thereafter. So I just wanted to start off by just saying thank you for that generosity.
No, you're welcome.
But how I've come to know you, and maybe this is where you can then just share with our guests who you are, right? So I came to know you because we do mentorship for quite a number of organizations.
Yes.
So just tell us briefly about yourself and the work that you do and how it has led to you then becoming a mentor in the space of entrepreneurship.
So, who am I? I'm Tukisang Sende, born, bred and battered, as they say, in the dusty streets. They were still dusty then, of Meadowlands in Soweto. Grew up in a relatively regular family. Where everything was meant to be done the way it needs to be done. You go to school, you do your chores, everything is fine. Parents are insistent on you doing the best that you can. So growing up, it was always about, so what are you going to do with your life? And of course, at that time, it was really about the big, mainstream careers. Go do medicine, go law, and none of those really appealed to me. And so it was like, okay, what do I do? One of the things that I was actually fascinated by, and maybe it's because my mom was a nurse, so I was always fascinated by the health system because I was surrounded by health, I used to see how she deals with people. She never was off duty. People would come to the home and ask, so I need this, or this is what's happening. My son or my daughter is in hospital. We can't find them. Can you assist? So I would see all of that. So it always fascinated me, and I think I never got to realize the extent to which it impacted on how my outlook to life then became, because I would always see both my mom and my dad would be consulted about stuff all the time, whether it's family, whether it's neighbors, anyone. So initially then I thought, okay, maybe I'll go into like pharmacy or something, because I wasn't like keen on medicine or anything of that sort. Then, of course, vet said, no, we have enough people here. You can't come into this space. I was like, man, I'm not interested in going out of town. Yeah. So I then took the next best course at the time. I then was admitted into a BSc for chemistry. I did that. But, as I was going through the studies, and then I also got to work in a chemistry lab for ESCOM, incidentally, because I then was able to get a bursary from ESCOM from the second year onwards. I then discovered, but this thing is like so routine based. It's boring. At the end of it, I then started questioning myself: is this what I would like to do with my life? And it was like, okay, I don't think this is what I would really want to do for the rest of my life. I need to find something else. But interestingly, chemistry was really about, and it is about, how elements interact with each other, how they respond to each other, how they react with each other. But what I then found in a lab was that I missed the human chemistry. Because the chemistry lab is a very lonely place. Everybody does their thing. Yeah. And then, that's it. You don't necessarily interact. You don't do much. So I missed the human chemistry. And incidentally, while I was still studying, I then was involved with a program that we started with some of my classmates, where we used to go and tutor one of the schools in Soweto. Their matriculants, help them to prepare for exams and things like that. And I think throughout my teenage years as well, I found that there was always something that drew me to helping other people. And like I said, maybe it was from my parents, So it came naturally to me to say, but if you want to do this and you're not able to figure it out, let's work on it and see if we can find the solution. So I found that I was drawn to a lot of work in that space. So it was more the human chemistry than the scientific chemistry of what a classical chemist would do. Then we would also take them on camps, where we'd make sure that they are exposed to all manner of things, learning outside the classroom, so that they understand that not all learning actually happens in the classroom. And so I learned to facilitate, I learned to counsel people, I learned to mediate, I learned to basically deal with people and engage with them, and I found that it came naturally to me. So my first job, incidentally, was in an organization where we had to set up youth centers for health purposes, right? And this was the organization that then ultimately then formed what we know as Love Life, the big HIV program. Yeah. So that's how I then got into the space more formally. And it was fun for me, because it was like, okay, I'm doing something that I love, and somebody's prepared to pay me for it. Yes. So it never felt like work. So I continued like that, but then I have a curious mind. So I would ask questions, and I would like to understand, why is this happening this way? Why is this program not working? And we found that at the time, there was not enough data that we could actually use to say what actually works and what doesn't. So the organization that I worked for then said, look, we have an opportunity for 2-3 people to then go and study research with the Medical Research Council. Would you be interested in that? Because you are always looking for data. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that while I'm working. So I did what they called an epidemiological research program for a year, which I passed. And I found that, well, now I could understand, and I could actually go behind the scenes in terms of what the data means and how then do we use data in order to make decisions. Moving on from that, I then was poached into the city of Johannesburg. At the time, I worked for a while there, and I got tired of the public sector because I was like, no, this is not my place.
there's no human in this public
No,
sector.
this place is different. It's different. The dynamics, the politics and everything. I was like, no, I'm not interested in this. So I moved from that. But incidentally, I then moved back into the NGO space. And when I moved back into the NGO space, then I had to set up an entrepreneurship development program as part of a youth program that was in place for an organization called PPASA. And we couldn't find an appropriate program anyway. We spoke to people that ran, entrepreneurship programs, and we found that a lot of these things were like more like business school type of content, and we're like, but not for ordinary township kids. You're not going to be able to do anything with that. So eventually, through my research, I then found that the Vets Business School at the time had a partnership they had put in place with the Women's Development Bank. And they, through that partnership, actually put together a program for ordinary women informal traders who, and who do their own thing to say, this is how you actually run a business. So I then spoke to the people who ran it, and they said, yeah, no, we'd be keen to look at how you can use this material. They made it available freely to us, as long as we credited them for it. And it was beautiful because what it actually was really taking a week program. So you take young people through an immersive program for a week. So they start off with trying to discover what entrepreneurship is about, what a problem actually means within entrepreneurship, what a solution looks like. And then you give them tasks. At the end of each day, they go back home. And then they need to do tasks. So they'll go home, say, okay, I figured there's a problem with water, in this area. So what are the issues that people are then battling with? So we say, go home, find out from your neighbors, what are the key pain points? What could they do if they had the resources? And then from there, they would come back the following day and say, this is what we found out. And then we then took them through how you then ideate, a possible solution based on what they say are their biggest pain points. And then on the basis of that, they would go back and then do the same thing, do like a bit of market research to see whether those solutions would work. But at the end of the week, so you take them step by step through that, they would pretty much have like a basic business plan that they could implement.
Yeah. Do you think, and I want to get in on that one, do you think that entrepreneurs or small business owners in this day and age are still building businesses like that?
No. Oftentimes, I would say some, but in the main, no. Oftentimes, it's really about, I'm good at doing this, therefore I'm going to try and figure out a way to monetize it and offer it to people and then ask people to support me. That's the route. Whereas we don't think about, well, I think I'm good at this thing, but is it something that could be of value to somebody else? Is it something that somebody else would be prepared to pay for in order for me to offer it to them? And then look at it from an external perspective instead of internal. So it's the research again. I think that then helps me to be able to see that, to say, but what informs you that this is something that could work? Have you seen a demand for it? No, but I think, I'm good at this and I think people would like it. I'm like, but go test. Yeah. Go ask. Ask your friends, ask people you don't know. Go stand at the street corner. You see, when you live in a township, it's easier. Go into the neighborhood and just ask. You want this thing to be sold to a certain type of people? Go find those people and ask them and listen. And then be comfortable with them saying no thanks.
Sure.
And it's a very difficult thing for a lot of entrepreneurs because often they go into things, they then come up with this beautiful solution that they want to take to market. And then they're like, but nobody supports me and nobody, supports a young entrepreneur. I'm like, but who are you targeting?
Yeah.
So there's no clarity in terms of what it actually takes to move an idea from a concept you have for yourself to something that could be of value to the next person.
And I think it's because we get too attached to what we are good at and our own ideas that, why don't they love it? And then, we want to blame everybody else. Nobody wants to see you succeed.
Yes.
But we are forgetting that this is business.
Yeah.
Right? And in business, there's a formula to what is it that you build. What then do you think is what is the South African entrepreneurship landscape looking like for you? What do you think?
Well, it's a busy space. Let me put it that way. What I mean by busy is that you have hundreds, probably of, well, maybe thousands of entrepreneurs who are trying to find a space to make a success of whatever they're trying to do. You have on the other side of the fence a number of entities that are trying to provide some form of entrepreneurial support to them. Of course, we do have the triple BEE scorecard in the country, which obviously compels to a large extent, corporates to then put money aside towards entrepreneurship development and supply development and so forth. Therefore, there's that push. And as a result of that, there's in a lot of cases, if I take Gauteng, there's a lot of programs that are made available to try and support entrepreneurs. But you find that a lot of them do not necessarily see the traction that they could have because I feel that there's just too much in a small space.
Okay.
Right? Whereas if you go further out of, let's say, Gauteng, perhaps parts of KZN, parts of the Western Cape, you find that there's wonderful entrepreneurs who actually are clamoring for support and they don't get it because everybody works in these areas that are almost like low-hanging fruit. So there's an inequality and what I would call unequal access to the type of support that entrepreneurs need, which then leads to a situation where we have entrepreneurs hopping from one program to the next and the next and the next. And perhaps because part of what we look at as entrepreneurship support organizations is that entrepreneurs perhaps need three things. One, they need the knowledge, skills. They then need, support with regards to having business support in terms of the technical information, but they also need funding. So because a lot of these programs include funding in them, and it's not a bad thing, but then some entrepreneurs then do is that they hop from the one to the next in order to just gain the funding. And it's what then pushes them into those programs or pulls them into them is the funding more than everything else that needs to that they could actually benefit from. So I think it's skewed in that sense. But on the other side of the fence, you also have a situation where I think there's a lot of cookie cutter type programming as well, where we think, well, if we've done a program like this for this type of entrepreneur, when we have another program, we can simply copy and paste and do that. We don't do enough of what we're asking entrepreneurs to do, to say, do you review, the user experience? So I say to my clients, review the user experience of your client. So those that bought from you, do you understand what actually makes them to buy or maybe to keep coming back or to even refer other people? In order for you to understand what then you could do next in order to then extend, the type of catchment you have in relation to your customer base. But as organizations, we then also don't do that enough. We don't actually review to see what has actually worked. What did these entrepreneurs find useful? And what are those elements that were not necessarily useful? So that when we program next, we may then demonstrate responsiveness to what they
it's
actually
not just
need.
a tick box to say, yes, our ESD, our trained 1,000 entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And we've spoken about the types of programs, but we could always unpack that. Now I'm curious to speak about the actual entrepreneurs that we have. Do you think, maybe I might get in trouble for asking this question, but do you think we have entrepreneurs that are good enough in our country? Or even if maybe we want to move it to the African landscape, but do you think we have entrepreneurs that are good enough? Or maybe another way to phrase this question is, what are the different types of entrepreneurs that are there, so that when somebody decides they want to start a business, they understand what kind of an entrepreneur they are, and are they good enough to become that kind of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I guess it's a bit controversial in the sense that not everyone who is an entrepreneur should actually be. Often, people end up in entrepreneurship because of the reality of the country where people don't have jobs. So the first thing I think of is, okay, I need to survive. If I'm not able to make to get a job, I still need to make a living, and therefore I'm going to try and find a way to then make a business or start a business in order to feed myself. So the reason for getting into entrepreneurship is not necessarily always about having seen a need or having necessarily identified a gap you want to fill in a marketplace. It's more about survival for myself. Therefore, I may not be looking to build a business that will grow into a bigger business than one that feeds me.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm able to then pay my own bills and be able to get by, you find that people are happy. Whereas you also then find entrepreneurs who then are go-getters, who see themselves as the next big thing. And they will push the envelope and every envelope they can ever push to be able to try and do that, at times to the detriment of their own businesses. Because there's also a fine line between the extent to which you are able to grow the business in relation to the capacity that you actually have to do that. So at times, entrepreneurs, and of course, it's understandable. If I have an ambition of growing my business fivefold in a particular period of time, and maybe in less than that time, I see it already at 3 times the growth, my thinking is, goodness, I've done this in a shorter space of time. Certainly, I can then multiply this growth. And then I almost bite off too much than I could chew, and then that actually suffocates the business and it dies because I don't have the systems in place to be able to deal with that growth. So there's a dichotomy in that. On one hand, we want to encourage young people, especially, to be more entrepreneurial. Yeah. But at the same time, we don't necessarily have enough in place for them to understand what they need to do in order to build that business, almost before they even get into it. So oftentimes we are building the plane as we fly it, right? Because we don't necessarily have a system, even in our education, where entrepreneurship is mainstreamed into how we educate our children. So if we were to get them to understand what entrepreneurship is about, it gets done here and there. And in some areas, you find that schools will include an entrepreneurship focus as part of the life skills or what is called life orientation. But it's not to the same extent everywhere. As a result of which,
you sell sweets and that's entrepreneurship.
Yes, and that's it. But we don't go behind the scenes to make them understand what's in there. I've fortunately been also able to work with the Department of Basic Education, and as part of one of the initiatives I've done with them was looking at creating, or where they have created new study guides, as an example, for matriculants, right? And this happened during the COVID time. And one of the study guides that we reviewed was one for business studies. There is a subject called business studies.
I did that.
But business studies is not entrepreneurship.
Yes.
It's about business, a company. And it tells you how a CEO needs to be.
Yeah, what is the sole proprietor?
And that's it. But it doesn't go into actual entrepreneurship. It doesn't give them any immersive experience of what actually running a business should be like. You learn about what the rules are of running business in the country, but you never get to do entrepreneurship. And so people come out of matric with business studies and they think, oh, I can actually go into business. When you start your own business, it's like everything gets scrapped because you don't start a business with a system that has a CEO, a marketing manager, and this and this and that. You are you.
It's you.
And you are everything, right? So nobody prepares you for that. And then you find that it's not as glamorous, as I may call it that, as it's actually been put out to be. So I think we do a disservice to a large extent to entrepreneurs as a system and as a country because we don't necessarily put in place what I would call entrepreneurship school. Because doctors go to medical school.
Yes.
Accountants learn accounting, and there are regulatory bodies and so forth. Lawyers go to law school. Yeah. Where do entrepreneurs go?
Yes. And that's exactly the story of why I started Kifilozila Academy. Yeah. Because when I started, the first thing that I did that I didn't even think it would turn into a business, it just happened randomly. Yeah. I've always been an athlete. I was into fitness and I was exercising really, really. And people saw it like, you should also help us exercise. And people were willing to pay me to actually help them do that. I didn't know that I was now officially a business owner. I was still in university even at that time. I didn't know that. And as it started to develop, I learned, when I was printing out flyers, this is marketing that I'm doing. Oh, when I knock at doors, this is promotions that I'm doing. Oh, when now all the money's in and I'm counting it and I'm saying I'm going to buy this dumbbells or this to exercise, or actually I'm buying raw material or stock or equipment or whatever for my business. And then as time went by, I actually thought, how? Okay. When I eventually found out, okay, now this is a business that I actually have. Because then obviously I was in Johannesburg at Wits University and information was like around. And then I realized I've got a business.
Yes.
I've got a business. And then it was up until then people would start coming to me, you must help me start a business, Kifido, you must help me. And I was like, oh, you want me? And then that's when I eventually then moved to then not doing fitness, because I actually had a whole fitness studio. It was it was an actual full-on business. I even went to get accredited as a fitness professional.
Imagine.
Sometimes I feel like I've lived 20 lives. But then from there, I realized, okay, actually, I've got quite a number of people coming to me asking them to help them start a business, you know. And that's when then Kifilotsi like Kerimo was sort of like conceptualized and born and said, I could actually teach other people how to build a business. And that's just sort of like how there was never I didn't go to university for this. I was not told, okay, you're going to write your board exams and then your board exam is, then you're going to do your articles. And then, do you get what I'm saying? So what kind of programs then should entrepreneurs be in? Or what should the curriculum for entrepreneurs be like? That is not just, this is the types of businesses, this is how you register, this is what financial management means, but what should it look like if for you it was the programs were working?
Well, look, I think, you know, there's a lot of programs that are currently working where you are helping entrepreneurs. And I mean, there's different levels.
Okay.
So there's merit in helping an entrepreneur who's still in ideation phase to figure out what that means, as long as you also get them to understand that they should be more, what I would call it, be more in love with the problem than with the solution you already have. Because the solution and what the solution should be should actually come from your people. So your example about people asking you to help them with exercising and then later asking you to help them actually set up a business, that is market research. That's what creates and actually tells you that there's a demand for this, right? So that's one. And then there's also value in ensuring that those that have already started don't necessarily have to pay the school fees of all the faults of others that have come before them, so that they can almost have a more linear, even though we can't make it fully linear, a linear, you know, process from ideation to actually setting up and getting things going. But they should understand that it's not enough to just have registered with CIPC, having opened a bank account, you know, having a tax number with SARS, and therefore think, okay, now I've got a business. There's a lot more that goes into it. So I think there's different levels. But I think more than anything, if we were to have, in an ideal state, it would be great. Like, this is why I was talking about the schooling system. Because when they're still at school, a lot of them already have some hustle or another. They are exposed to hustles because we grow up in a situation where you are surrounded by entrepreneurs. You are surrounded by entrepreneurship. And so it's about helping them to then get some of that spark of understanding of, oh, this is how I could do this. This is how I could do that. If I have this talent, it could potentially be, you know, something that's viable. And I can test it out, fail at very low risk. Where I'm at school, where I'm not investing too much into this thing, instead of where somebody is now desperate for success, and they will do whatever it takes, even if it means break the law, in order to try and make a success of this thing. And I think that's where the challenge is. So I think for me, there's merit in helping them while they're still younger, so that they then get to understand the entrepreneurial journey and make up your mind if this is what you would want to do or not. Actually. And you know what's also fascinating? So let's take it into then the situation that we have. People go into varsity. They then, you know, get trained to be doctors. They get trained to be lawyers, accountants, so forth. They qualify, get out of there. They now have to set up their practices. That's a business. But nowhere in that in that journey, are they taught about the business principles behind running a medical or a legal practice? So they have to figure it out, because everybody thinks, well, they're clever enough, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they should figure it out. But it's not the same. So there's that element also that I think we need to then bring into the fray. So hence, if everybody was exposed to it while they're at school, so whichever direction you then take, whether you're going to a professional career or you actually set up your own business, at least you've got the basic tenets of what it actually takes. You can then top up on it based on where you need to go.
For me, in my head, it's looking like, let's assume I'm at the 8th grade.
Yes.
And let's say all of us, there's a subject where there's a product that you're going to develop. Let's say school starts when in January normally.
Yep.
There's a product that you're all going to develop, and every week, like, you attend your maths class, your science class, you also attend your entrepreneurship or business class, and you're constantly developing this product. Even when you go to grade 9, you're moving with it, and we are seeing it blossom into something where when you graduate and you've matriculated, now then you can decide, I actually want to pursue this further. Or no, actually for me, I want to go be a doctor. Or actually I want to be, not it being something that they fall into and now I'm hungry, I need to put food on the table. And now they sort of like have to start building everything from scratch. So in my head, I'm seeing how amazing it would look like that every day I'm engaging in sales. Every day I'm engaging in, there's some level of accounting or bookkeeping that I have to do and now we are situated, we are obviously in an environment where there's other students who took up the accounting stream and they become your accountant, and you start having that.
So you simulate a business world within that. So you need to have it in a way that's why I was talking about immersing them into the life of what an entrepreneurship journey looks like. So that they then understand, but this is not fun, or actually I love this, because we get them to think, what do you want to do in life? What do you want to do? But it's all theoretical in most cases. We don't actually give them insight into this is what it could actually take. And part of why I'm thinking about it in this way is that, remember I was saying, as part of my journey, we used to do camps for these young people. In that program that we had, so it's a program that still exists today. It's called ProTech, which is the program for technological careers. So they would take learners that would want to go into any technological career. So from grades 10 to 12, and then they give them extra lessons on Saturdays and then during VEC school or what I would call holidays. And then one of the days during that VEC school is they would be taken to a company. So you want to be an engineer? Let's go spend a day with an engineer so that you see what the life of an engineer actually looks like practically, and ask the questions, understand what this guy has to do or this lady has to do. What does it mean to be a pharmacist? What does it mean to be this or the other career? So that they have an understanding from the other side of the books. And that is far more powerful, because then they can start thinking, do I see myself doing this or not? So if we then give them the same approach where you then immerse them into entrepreneurship, then they can figure it out. To say, actually, I'm going to be the accountant that will then come and run your books for you guys. So I'll still go and study my accounting, and then I'll set up a practice and provide those services to the other people. So that they then see education as not just a leap towards employment, but rather that I can then do something of value to other people, even if it means I set up my own business. But whichever way that they are drawn to, they have options. They have options, in that way. And interestingly, you then see a lot of that within some of the programs I mentor on as well, where you find that entrepreneurs find each other, and then they're like, hey, actually, I need the services that you do. Oh, that one. And then you also have to and almost like encourage them to start collaborating among each other and understanding that they can actually be each other's service providers and clients. Yes.
And now I want to get, when you speak about this, the ProTech program, and now they go and do this VEC work or holiday work, this sounds also like getting a snippet of mentorship. Right? I get so frustrated all the time about what people not understanding what mentorship is. Because we confuse mentorship, coaching, training in the country. And for my opinion, I think then that's what dilutes the power that mentorship can actually have on people. So from your understanding, what is mentorship and why maybe is it then important for entrepreneurs to seek out mentorship?
So the simplest way I could maybe explain what a mentor is or what mentorship is about is, let's take what people are used to. You have a company. It's a regular company that runs. It's got a CEO, it's got perhaps an executive management team. But that team accounts to a board of directors. They are not in the business all the time. But what happens is that the CEO and that executive team needs to account to these people for how they are running the business.
Okay.
So that board basically provides stewardship. They provide advice. They ask the questions that the people who are inside the company don't necessarily always have answers to, or they don't even, they're not aware that they need to answer those questions. So a mentor almost plays a similar role, where they are not in the business, right? So you're sitting outside of the business, you're looking into the business, and you provide so many different elements of stewardship to the entrepreneur. What I mean by that is that there's a couple of things. Let me maybe just sketch a few scenarios. So an entrepreneur starts their business like you were doing, and then you figure out that, actually, I need support with a particular aspect of the business. I don't understand what marketing I need to do. And you don't necessarily want a marketing person to come and work in the company, but you need advice or you need support in relation to how you could yourself do the marketing. Now, a mentor then can be able to assist you with unlocking what the gaps in terms of knowledge are. So they almost play a teacher role in one sense, to help you to actually close the knowledge gaps. They may not necessarily do it for you, but they need to be able to ask you the questions that will help you to be able to figure out what are the best ways, and then still point you to resources that could then assist you. The second part of the function of a mentor, as I see it, is that you have a role as a okay, let me put it this way. Entrepreneurship, the one part of entrepreneurship that is under focused on is the fact that entrepreneurship is very lonely, right? So there are certain things that an entrepreneur would face, and they have nobody, absolutely nobody, that would be able to understand what they're going through. They cannot ask their teams or they cannot even confide in their teams. They cannot confide maybe in associates that work with them. They may not be able to confide in anybody else. Now, this is where a mentor comes in to provide almost like that psychological space and hold the space for them to say, it's okay to not be great. It's okay that you may not have figured out what you need to do here. And it's okay if you're feeling frustrated. But guess what? There are ways to overcome that. The third part is the accelerated learning, I would call it that. So going back to the issue about no entrepreneurship school. So as a mentor, I can play the role of unlocking education for them without them needing to go through the school, paying the school fees, of making all the mistakes at an expensive, on an expensive level. So you can then help them to be able to say, right, I've seen this movie before. You see, you are trying to go this way. But the problem is that this is what you're going to find there. So you are almost like the navigator for them to say, I can see you want to go there. Yeah, you can get there fast, but there are hurdles here. And these are the hurdles that you may actually hit against, and it's not going to work for you. So let's find a different way. So you help them with perspectives so that they see more than what they think needs to be done. And then the fourth thing is about networks, helping them to plug into the right networks for what they need to do. Because they may not, at times they say, you don't know what you don't know. Right? So as a mentor, your role is then to say, hey, did you know that Gifile already does something like this and that and the other. Perhaps let's have a conversation with her and see if there might not be an opportunity for you to not have to spend all the money doing this thing or trying to develop this thing, but rather collaborating with her and having her assisting you to move this forward. So that way, it's about really strategic connections for them, which ordinarily they would not have access to. And I think the final thing would then be about really helping them to understand that they need to be accountable to themselves. They need to be accountable to their teams. They need to be accountable to this business.
Yeah.
You have a boss, but the boss, who is the boss accountable to? So you, as the mentor, you play both a mirror as well as a blind spot, light for them to understand. Ooh, I didn't see this, I didn't see that. And then you hold them accountable, because often, and this is another misconception that some entrepreneurs have, I want to go into entrepreneurship because I want to be my own boss. And then you don't understand that actually bosses are account to somebody else in the regular business world. So you want to be the next big thing. Guess what? That big CEO accounts to a board of directors. Those are the people to whom they account. So you need to still account elsewhere. They are the ones that keep them honest. They are the ones that ensure that they don't, bring the company into disrepute and stuff like that. So that's the role of a mentor as well. So the way that I see mentorship is really just, it almost like becomes an amorphous thing that you can't put into a neat, a neat container to say, this is what it should be. But you play so many different roles, but all of them are really meant to do one thing, to show the entrepreneur that when you are inside the container, the container being the business, you don't see the label of the container, but I can see the label. So I'm able to see what you don't see. But if you tell me what you see from the inside of the business and I understand where you want to go, I can then from the outside actually tell you, maybe it's not a good time to go there. Let's maybe rather do this or the other, so that you then can still do what you need to do.
Because entrepreneurship can really be led by emotions sometimes. You're like, hey,
Most
I
times.
said I want to do this, I want to do this. And it goes back to the saying where they say, don't work in your business, work on your business. So then a mentor then becomes the on.
Yes.
That sort of like makes you. And then how do I find the right type of mentors?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because we have a situation in the country where we don't necessarily have a set standard or parameters that say, here are all the mentors that you could actually find or approach to be able to help you. Because firstly, entrepreneurs don't even know that they need a mentor. So remember, we get into business because of different reasons. Yeah. I'm here now and I have to figure it out. And then I think I must figure everything out myself because it's me, it's my baby. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday and she was saying to me, I have a problem. I need to introduce this new product. I can see this is the product that would actually make sense based on the market research and the data she has. But the challenge she has is the fact that she needs to bring on somebody else who then would be better suited to run with that. And she's like, I feel like I'm giving away my baby. I feel like I'm giving away my baby because I'm used to doing all these things myself. Now, you're saying to me that I actually need this person. It's like you want me to give away the baby. Now, I need to then have a understand that, yes, your baby is still your baby. But it's like the baby is at a point where they need to now go to a daycare center or to go to school. They still go to school and they are taken care of by the teacher, the mothers that help them at ECD centers, but they come home to you.
Yeah. And the teachers account to you at
the
end.
Yes, they account to you and they don't take over the ownership of the child. So they have a role to play, and they do it in conjunction and in partnership, in collaboration with you. So you still hold the ownership of the baby. It's just that you are not the one to teach the baby how to write. Somebody else is better suited at that. But guess what? The better they teach them, the better you then are going to end up with a baby that is far more rounded. So it's that sort of analogy that they need to also understand, that it's not just about what you are able to do, but understanding that you may need other people. But the challenge, going back to your question, is that people don't know that they need mentorship, firstly, and therefore they would not know where to look for them. So in a lot of cases, entrepreneurs find mentors or get allocated mentors once they are on any of these, entrepreneurship development programs. So fortunately, a lot of them then will be allocated to a kifile who will then walk them through the journey. And then only then do they realize, wow, I didn't know that I actually needed all this assistance, and that there are actually people out there that can assist. So I think there's lots of work to be done in the mentorship space to try and make it far more, I would say, formalized. To a large extent, I mean, we do have institutions like COMESA, which is the Coaching and Mentors, Association of South Africa, but it's still a small collective. So it's not a widespread, resource that you could say, if you need a mentor, this is where you go. Just like when people know, where do I go for funding? There's institutions that can tell them, here are the funding opportunities. If I need ESD programs, who are the companies that have ESD programs in my line of work? People can find those. But we don't have the same in the mentorship space. And I think it's something to look into and see what can be done about it.
And then, because in the way you're saying it, because I know there are mentors, and even if maybe we extend it to coaches, consultants, and so forth, that would make an entrepreneur to pay to get access to them. And then there are mentors who are free by virtue of being part of a entrepreneurship development program.
Yep.
Right? So because it's not all of us who are going to have the opportunity to be part of an entrepreneurship development program, do you think that it should be a model where people ask entrepreneurs to pay for mentorship? Mentorship is giving your heart to another entrepreneur and saying, I'm willing to help you grow and be on this journey with you.
I think it's a combination. So I'll also reflect on the context of South Africa, that if we look at it this way, Triple BE is what then, like I said, has basically catalyzed what we now know as ESD, because it's part of the scorecard. So if the way that ESD is implemented were to be differently packaged, to say, right, let's not only provide mentorship or access to mentorship once people are part of our programs, but rather that if we as an organization feel that we actually have entrepreneurs who could, or we have an interest in development of entrepreneurs, let us look at how we can partner with mentors, because mentors are really meant to do their work for a fee, because it's a business, right? So your business is mentorship, your business is coaching, your business is maybe business advisory or management consulting, whatever category you fit yourself into. So it is a business in itself. So it's really just about looking at what are the easier access or better access modes we can use to ensure that we broaden access to entrepreneurs without necessarily burdening them with the cost of paying for it. So a lot of times, yes, ESD programs will make a mentor available, an accountant available, a legal person available, and so forth. And then at the end of the program, that entrepreneur is left out to dry and they need to figure it out themselves. So I think we need to relook at the model and see to what extent we can find more creative ways by which entrepreneurs can find and have access to mentors without necessarily breaking the bank. So I think that is a space that perhaps is greenfield at this stage. But I think, I do mentor a couple of entrepreneurs pro bono. Actually, this evening I have a session with a young person whom I need to mentor, and it's because I've got 3-4 of them who I've just decided I'll give my time without necessarily needing them to pay, because it's just part of my way to say there's still the human element, there's still the side of just giving somebody a leg up.
That is the ESD of your business.
It's the ESD of my business in that sense. So I do it, but I think a lot of us in this space also do it more informally. Where, this happens all the time. You go to an event, somebody knows or people know that, Kifilwe is a mentor, you're a coach. They follow you or they watch your podcast, and then they start firing questions at you. and there and then,
that's my intellectual
you get on
property.
duty. There and then you're in duty. And then you can't say to them, oh no, wait, I'm going to have to charge you for this. I know lawyers are very good at doing that. They say, I can tell you up to this point, but beyond that, you need to consult. You need to open a file.
Because I think also, and that has also been my challenge as well, because mentorship, people often think it's just a friendly chat. Are you really going to charge me to tell me why my marketing sucks? Can you just... Yes, I am going because that's my intellectual property, right? And I think you're right. It's only because there isn't like a school of mentorship where somebody can go and study to be a mentor for 4 years. We normally do like 3-6 months short courses, but it's not like a fully fledged career where people see that when they ask you, what are you doing? Like, I'm actually a mentor. And they're like... What, like, yes, I hear you're a mentor, but what is your job? Like, it always sounds like you need to say, I'm a lawyer, but on the side I do.
Yeah, it's like a side hustle.
I do mentorship, It's always very...
It's the main hustle.
and another controversial one, there was this gentleman who, I can't remember, he used to do happy socks.
Yes.
And he was on the news the other time and said, I don't need mentorship and training. I need 5 million.
Yes, I remember. Spoo socks.
Is it spoo socks? So do you think entrepreneurs are then overtrained, over-mentored, and aren't being given enough funding? And also tying it to this as well, do you think the real reason, or maybe let me just put it like this, what do you think, let's start with this. What do you think is the reason for most SME failures, right? I know there's data that would always say this is the top reason why entrepreneurs fail, but I want to hear it from your experience. What is the number one reason you would say this is why SMEs fail, right? And then after answering that, then move into, are we overtrained, over-mentored, and not financed or funded enough?
Okay, so there's various reasons why they fail, but I think one of the key ones out if I take the individuals now, not the businesses, but the individuals behind the business, it's because a lot of times people don't want to take the time to understand their market, to understand what's required out there, and then to build systems. The entrepreneurs are impatient with building systems. They will tell you, I don't like doing admin. I don't like doing this. Why are you asking me about my finances? I'm like, but you are running a business. Business is about finance. If you don't have data on your business, then what is there? So it's the attitude of the entrepreneur, for me, that needs to be worked on a bit more. Because other things, you can, if people understand the importance of why you need to have finances in place, systems, you are able to then bring others to say, come, let's get you so-and-so bookkeeping that can assist you with that. So that you don't then have to worry about it, but you know that somebody is held accountable for it in the business. And then going back to the next part of the question, are they overtrained, over-mentored, and so forth? I think my intro was, we don't have an equitable level of access across different entrepreneurs. But at the same time, there is no repository of who are the entrepreneurs, what have they actually been exposed to. So when an entrepreneur signs up for a program, they may be asked, which other programs have you been part of? But that knowledge does not then automatically disqualify them from coming into the new program, because it's almost like they're going to do the same thing over again. So we need to be able to get to a point where we say, if you've done A, B, and C, our programs will then take you from D to E and F. So that we then, for our ABC type programs, we only take those that have never been exposed to anything. But also, remember, entrepreneurs have also figured out the system. So some of them will give you answers that they know will help them to be able to get into the programs. We don't have a central database that says, here are the entrepreneurs. These are the ones that have gone through Gibbs. These ones have gone through Fetula. These ones have gone through Alan Gray. These ones have gone through Kifiletsela Academy. These ones have gone through Black Umbrellas and so forth. We don't do that. So that way, everybody starts them from scratch. That's why then the overtraining, the overexposure to the same information happens there. So it's a problem on both sides of the coin. And then access to funding, yes, it's always an issue. But I think oftentimes when people have their systems in place and they have a business case they can present, it becomes easy to access funding.
Yeah.
If the funders and those that are meant to be providing funding to, they are also efficient, because there's yet that element. Okay, so I was reading an article today, just to give you a snippet, and it's fortunately not South Africa, but it mirrors what we experience in South Africa. It's Kenyan. So I was reading on LinkedIn, this gentleman was talking and lamenting about the fact that it takes 5 licensing hurdles for an ordinary entrepreneur to finally have a registered business in Kenya.
Sure.
And each of these come at a cost. And he's like, well, why can't we just have one single licensing process and they are in, and then we can, take them forward? So we almost discourage them at the entry point to get in. Whereas in South Africa, it's the other way around.
It's easy
So
to get
in half an hour, I
Yeah.
can have somebody registered
Yeah.
and they have a business.
Yeah.
But then this is the problem, that because of the ease of registering, some entrepreneurs believe
I've got
everything
a
else must be
business now.
easy. And they don't understand there's
Yes.
now a lot of work. The work starts once you've registered.
Yeah.
So I think there's a case to be made for more creative ways by which access to funding can also be enabled, so that we don't also once again have a cookie cutter approach to access to funding, and we expect everybody to go through the same eye of the needle to be able to get access. So we need to have a tiered approach, in my opinion. Have a tier that speaks to the ones that are still trying to get their ideation going, proof of concept and prototyping and stuff, and then take those that then need to now go to market, so that they then take it onto another level, and then take those that are at the growth path and the growth level, and they may need to just have a leg up for them to be able to then maybe have access to equipment and other things in order to grow, and then take it even a higher level where those that are matured, and we say, do we want to go to other markets beyond South Africa, as an example? So have that sort of a roadmap that can helps to in the marketing, they use LSMs, like those living standards, and say, okay, which level are you targeting? Let's do the same with entrepreneurs, so that we offer packages that then speak to the level that they are at, in order to be able to then move them
Then
along.
for me, it sounds like the disconnect is not with the actual entrepreneurs, but with the organizations that then work with these entrepreneurs. So how do we bring all these organizations that have got all these ESD programs, entrepreneurship programs, to work? Is it possible? Even because all of them, they're looking at their own scorecard.
Yeah.
How are they then going to say, okay, let's just say typically we've got Ellen Gray Makers, we've got Gibbs, we've got Fetula, we've got 22 Sloan, we've got me, Kifiletsela Academy, and then we've got our own. How do we then?
So there's a need, and I think in some respects, conversations like that happen with some, where they would share information among themselves, and then look at what best practice can they try and apply in each of their spaces. But it doesn't happen, I think, widely enough. Because I think if they were to collaborate, you'd actually have better returns on the investment of the ESD. Because if everybody, as an example, if we were to do a continuum to say how many of them fund at ideation phase, how many of them fund at growth phase, how many fund prototyping, how many fund, then you are able to then see, similar to what I was saying, that's scanning the market, so that you see where are the needs. Maybe we are over focused on the big ones, and then everybody wants to fund the ones that are likely to become
successful.
The next big thing. But maybe it's not everybody. It's like 0.5% of all entrepreneurs that will reach that level. So who then funds the next tier? Who is there in the next tier, and so forth? So we don't have, I think, a systematized, I would call it database repository that then helps with that. There's no data that's put together. And I think it would actually make their lives much easier. I think that a lot of that started happening because of my previous work in the NGO space, where funders and CSI programs would then speak to each other, exchange ideas, and also exchange business intelligence, so that they then understand where are we over-resourced, where are we under-resourced. We need a similar approach on this side, so that we then can ensure that we are providing appropriate support and ensuring access, as well as catalyzing growth at different levels of the entrepreneurial journey.
I mean, if someone is looking for a business idea, this is it. And two ways. What would you see, or let's say an entrepreneur walks in, or somebody who says they want to be an entrepreneur, what would be the factor that says to you, this one is not going anywhere? And then another one, this one is definitely going to be successful. Is there a way for you to see?
Not at face value. Not at face value.
I wanted to put you on a tight spot today.
Not at face value. I think there's a number of, you need to have a conversation. For me, it's about having a conversation to then figure out, does this person actually have what it takes from a perspective of the drive, the focus, the preparedness to actually put in the work, and also openness to learn. Whereas others come in and say, dude, I know my stuff. I've got this thing all figured out, and all I want you to do is do that. And you're like, no. Nobody's going to put money into something they don't understand. So let's take 2 steps back. Tell me what it's about. What have you been able to do? So that we then are able to a certain extent, de-risk whether this thing is viable or not. And then versus something that somebody has really been trying so hard, but they are focusing or pushing it to the wrong market, and that happens. I want to, to reach this level of customer, because they are the ones that would afford my services or my products. But I then use, what has happened within the satellite television space and what has happened with mobile telephony over time, where initially you had one bouquet that was only affordable to everybody or a certain level of people within the country. Over time, those providers then understood that actually there's many more people that could actually have access to this, but they can't afford, and therefore you then have a tiered level, different tiers of access. Similar with mobile telephony. They all started offering contracts. And only over time did they start saying, you could actually buy your own phone, buy airtime, do this. And then everybody then started having 3-4 phones. Had they not done that, a lot of those technologies would have actually died in the water. And so for me, it's really about them openness to understanding that you don't know it all from the get-go. And what you think you know may not be what actually you need to have in place. So your market may be sitting elsewhere, but are you open enough and agile enough to be able to say, we've tested it here, it doesn't work, but why does it not work? Did you ask the people? Entrepreneurs will tell you, people come into my shop all the time, they ask and this, that, and that, and then they walk out. I'm like, right, did you ask them why did they not buy? What is it about what you are offering? Is it the price? Is it the packaging? Do you engage with them?
Review post. Because what I've also realized is SMEs focus too much on only the paying customer.
Yes.
And then the one who doesn't pay, they say, it's fine.
They're not my customer. But understand, because it may be a simple thing. That I love a particular color and you don't have it. And then you suddenly say, but what will it take for me to make that color?
Or I walked in and your staff didn't greet me.
Yes. It's all of that. So for me, it's really just about openness to engage, openness to learn, and also openness to hear not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Because at times as a mentor, I have to say to you, it's not going to work. And I can tell you why. But ultimately, it's still your decision to either take it or don't. And then you then can take it forward. So going back to your question, there's no simple way to say yeah, they will make it or not. It's in the engagement that you are able to figure it out.
And I think they're not thinking about what you want and what the customers want is depending also on the type of entrepreneur that you are. If you're building this business so that you can scale and let it live longer than you and, go from generation to generation, you need to learn not to make it about you, because the next people that are going to lead this company when you're not there aren't going to make the same decisions.
Yeah, definitely.
as you. So I think having that shift to say, let me learn to make decisions as if I'm not
there.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to then, let's look a little bit as we are heading to finishing. For women entrepreneurs and men entrepreneurs, what differences have you seen for women-led businesses, men-led businesses, both from how they lead their businesses and how the ecosystem is supporting both?
So women lead with the heart more than with the might. So they are more, their leadership has a lot of emotional intelligence, and I'm using emotional intelligence because there's different levels as well. But you see a lot of that heart in the business than you do with men. So naturally, women are nurturers, and therefore they will want to grow something. They are naturally inclined to want growth, but have growth that is also in line with where the stage of this business may be. Whereas with the guys, at times they are impatient. We want results now. Things are not working. We want to kick everybody and kick things down. And you're like, but that's not how you do things. So it's really just about the emotional intelligence and the heart on the one side. And on this side, people thinking, well, I need to be a tough guy, to make it in business, because don't take it personal. It's only business. But business is personal.
Yeah,
because you sell to people. It's people that buy. It's not things that buy. It's people, and therefore you need to understand that there's an emotional process that a sale, even the acquisition of a sale, actually takes. So you need to be in touch with a little bit of that to say, what is it that I need to do? How do I get into the head and the heart of the client to understand a little bit about them? Whereas they think, no, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
I'll get my partner to do that. Especially if you find a gendered business where there's maybe the partners, one is male, one is female, you'll find that for certain decisions they will defer to that one or the other. So they then play good cop, bad cop, within the business. And at times they don't necessarily bring the two to work well with each other. So then the power play comes into place. So I think each of them, from a support perspective, we need to be able to get them to understand what in their makeup is an enabler and what is a hindrance. So from both sides, because even for women entrepreneurs who might be more intelligent, rather emotionally intelligent, you may find that certain hard-nosed decisions that they need to make, they don't make, and therefore people take advantage of them in that regard. So they need to be aware that, yes, I may be seen as a softie, but I can hold my ground.
There's a point where I need to tap into this.
Exactly. And similarly on this side, I may be a hard-nosed guy, but I also have the softer side to understand, actually, I need to take my clients along. I need to take my partners along. So, but in relation to how programming then is done, there's probably a lot of stuff is done within a men's world. Let me put it that way. So the support is curated from what typical businesses like, which is hard-nosed, heartless, and everything, whereas women entrepreneurs have for a long time been left behind, which is why I think over the last couple of years, there's been a proliferation of support directed at women entrepreneurs so that you then get into those spaces. And then there's another element which obviously we don't have time for, which is the fact that they come into business with their own baggages, with their own traumas from their lives, from their relationships and everything. And those things then come into play in the business.
Sure.
And who then deals with that? So there's also a psychological support or psychosocial support, which we don't focus enough on.
I think we don't have a lot of that.
Yeah, we don't focus on
in the
for entrepreneurship
space.
Yeah.
All right. So if we were to say one or two things on a billboard for entrepreneurs out there, and it would be the last thing that you say to them, right? What would you say to entrepreneurs, whether in South Africa and Africa overall, about entrepreneurship and business building?
I think it's not enough to have an idea. You need to be able to put the hard work into it and be patient that this that you're trying to grow, the levers for its growth do not always rest entirely in your hands. You need support from others, and you need to be able to be open to get that support when it's offered and be able to reach out to the support when it's availed.
That is very powerful. Thank you so much. As you all know, time is never on our side because, look, if you know me, I will find questions to ask and you would be here the entire day. But thank you, Mr. T, as I normally say, for really, really coming in and sharing. I think this conversation was more towards who you are as an entrepreneur and what we can do in South Africa basically to then support these entrepreneurs, right? I don't think normally when we speak about entrepreneurs, we always have to motivate. You can do it. You can do it. I didn't get any of that. What I want is always, what do I need to be doing right now as an entrepreneur? Where is your head at right now as an entrepreneur? And I definitely got that knowledge. I hope you got that knowledge for yourself as well. You took some action notes and you know what is it that you're going to need to start jumping on in your entrepreneurship journey. Well, if you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button and also leave your comment, like, and share with your friends, family, and other entrepreneurship communities that you are part of, because information, like I always say, it's nothing if we keep it to ourselves. And that's it from me, Coach Kifilwe. You know, I don't rest until I make sure that you've done your business right. Bye-bye.